So namaste and good morning. Yeah, I thought we'd begin this morning. A little satsang on satsang. Because I've taken a look at some of the questions as they've come in, and satsang means association with truth. And so that's what satsang should be about, truth. And it should be about this path and the ways and means to break through ego and break through the illusion and delusion of the world of duality. And so those are the questions that should be posed. And I see a lot of the questions are more intellectual claptrap. They do nothing to break through ego. They do nothing to find out what's ultimate truth. They do nothing on that level. Just idle curiosity, mental spins. So what a waste of satsang time. So on that note, we'll look at the questions here. We have a lot of them, so. Is there any benefit to playing mantras while you're sleeping? No. One word. No. Why? Because everything needs to be in balance. If you're overdoing mantra and you're overdoing the energy, you're going to be off balance. Okay? So everything needs to be done in balance. A time and a season for everything. Okay, so let's keep things in balance, okay? I recall hearing long ago the phrase, Kundalini loves mantra. Can you elaborate what this means? Well, they've never heard it from here. I have no idea what this person's talking about whatsoever. Kundalini loves mantra. Kundalini doesn't love mantra. There are specific mantras that are used here to help to break through things, that are help to move things along, to cut through, to expand and then cut through. But this idea that Kundalini loves mantra, I don't know where this person is getting this from. I don't know who asked this question, but it has nothing to do with here. I'm sure they have never heard me say that phrase ever. So again, this is what happens when people are out chasing other things, reading a bunch of other stuff, and they get in confusion, and then they come back, and I have to wind up yet again speaking and clearing out confusion that wouldn't be there if they weren't chasing a lot of other things they're not supposed to be chasing. So if people coming into this path just remain in this path and what is said here and let go of the rest of the stuff, you'll have much less confusion. Very simple. It is said the Guru mitigates karma. Just what does this mean in relation to the sadhaka? It means that a lot of karmic things you would have had to go through if you weren't on the path and weren't in connection with Guru will be much easier being here. You won't have to face the long way. There's either the hard way or the harder way. This is said continually. If you want to be out on your own measures, then you'll face all of your karma. If you're here, you get the wisdom to change your actions, which will mitigate the karma, as well as being in presence of Guru, which speeds things up, which also aids in helping to still the mind, which also is an aid in mitigating karma. Okay? So, simple. Depression seems to be a difficult state to deal with because it just sits there ongoing with no end in sight. What is underneath depression? Is there anything to do to alleviate or help clear it through quicker? Will it eventually go away? How much, if anything, does it have to do with chemical imbalance? Well, when you get in depression, you can cause a chemical imbalance. If your mental spin is on that, of course the body's going to react to it. And you will wind up causing a chemical imbalance. So yes, you can get out of depression. The thing is not to wallow in self-pity. Okay, if you want to keep wallowing in that, the poor me saga, the poor me story, and all of the justifications for the misery of your life, then no, you'll never get out of it. Point blank truth. But this is why we start with a gratitude journal. Are you doing a gratitude journal? Are you looking for the benefits in your life rather than every little misery that comes along the way? And how you feel cheated, etc., etc. So it's a matter of starting to turn things around. Being willing to step out of that box and quit chasing the misery. If you want to keep dancing with that and making it your partner, what do you think? But yes, one can get out of that. We've gone, in my own journey, I went through severe depression for a number of years. So bad I couldn't even move. I was just deadlocked. Couldn't move. And it was a grand pity party. That's all it is. It's a big, huge pity party that one gets locked up in the spin. Oh, woe is me. Well, stop beating the pity party drum. Get up. Be willing to go out. Change your environment. Change what you're involved in. And move forward in life. There are a lot of people that would like to hear that it's a chemical and there's nothing you can do about it and it's an illness and you're sick, just like chemical dependency. Like they tell them it's an illness. No, it's a choice. Chemical dependency is a choice. Illness is not a choice. Okay? Chemical dependency is a choice. You have created these actions, and now you're stuck in it, but it's not an illness. Okay? Same thing with depression and a lot of these other things. They can be mitigated, they can be gotten out of. Things like schizophrenia, that type of thing is another matter. That's another matter. That you can't just step out of. But depression, yes. Absolutely, 100%, one can get out of that box. It just takes a willingness to do something about it. Is there any difference between Shaktipat and energy work? What is the appropriate and respectful way to request either or both of these, as there is an understanding that this is a drain on Guru's form? If energy work is offered, what is the appropriate compensation for this invaluable service? $5,000 a session. Now, how many of you want to come forward for it? No takers? Okay, good. So go on with your lives and do the practices. Yes, it is invaluable. And yes, I used to give it out. And the result of it was people didn't want to do the practices anymore. Why should I do it when I can lay on a table, I can have Guruji work on me? And I moved along infinitely. And for that grace, they'd give a slap in the face with $5, $20. Even a low-level Reiki practitioner charges $100, $150. Are you kidding? So since people used and abused it so severely, it's no longer offered for nickels and dimes. It's just not. So if you want it, it's $5,000 a session. I guarantee there will be no takers. And this is what happens in spiritual paths. When you have gurus that offer things, and they offer it from the genuineness of being, and at every turn people disrespect it and abuse it and continue to abuse it, then it gets pulled away. But even at a $5,000 charge for a session, it is invaluable. And I don't think you could find any other guru that would even do it for that. Not even that. So there's your answer. Shaktipat, and this is the problem I have with Reiki, and I just spoke with somebody that I knew from Haridwar the other day. He started doing Reiki, and I said, you know, if you're messing with energies and Reiki, it can awaken Kundalini. He had no idea. Oh, well, I'm doing it, I'm seeing lights, and I go, yes, Kundalini's trying to wake up. And spontaneous mudras are starting to happen. I said, Kundalini is trying to wake up. You are playing with fire. Anytime you're dealing with Reiki, energies, Shaktipat, energy work, yes, it can awaken Kundalini. And this is why I say to people that are in Kundalini awakens, you don't go to these Reiki people that are doing that. They're not balanced. This is why any work should be done by a realized master, not a Reiki master that's bought a certificate. Because when the work is done here, and even if there's a connection, there's constantly a transmission in place. Granted, if you come and you have the hands-on energy work, it is stronger, but there's always a transmission in place. Okay, if there's that connection. And this is why the online ashram forum is in place. This is why satsang is given. This is why the videos are put up. For this very reason. Okay? So when a Kundalini master, one that has entered realization, is in that still mind, then it can only help to bring balance. If you have somebody that's a Reiki practitioner and their mind is all over the place, they're not in balance. So whatever energy work you're going to get is mitigated by that. There's a spin on it. I don't care how much they say, oh, it's not coming from me, it's coming from the universe. Well, yes, it goes through them in the mental spin. And then it also gets transmitted to a degree. Okay? That's the truth of it. So I think we've pretty much answered that one. In the Guru Gita, it states, if Shiva is angry with you, the Guru can save you. But if the Guru becomes angry with you, even Shiva cannot save you. Therefore, by all means, take refuge in the Guru. Can you elaborate or comment on this? Yeah, it's the same thing. They ask, you know, well, when I come, who should I honor first, God or Guru? And the answer is always Guru. Why Guru? Because without Guru, you couldn't get to God. You wouldn't recognize God. You wouldn't find it. That's why. Okay? Because Guru is the ship that takes you, gives you the map, gives you the ways, the means to get to realization, to that liberation. Okay? So you don't want to piss off the Guru, because they're the lifeline. It's through that grace and compassion. I don't care how many books you want to read on Shiva, without the way and the means to get there, again, you've got to have that knowledge. And that knowledge is only given directly. You know, this is why people like dead gurus, because they're not challenged. I can read books, I'm not challenged. Well, in not being challenged, you're not moving forward. Okay? You can create a lot of scenarios, they sound good, feel good, but they're not moving you forward in any major degree. And so this is why one honors Guru. This is why one honors what's given. This is why on many of the paths, the Tibetan or any of them, the guru is put on a throne. This is why the guru's head is never supposed to be lower than the sadhakas. You're never supposed to be above the guru, because it's always supposed to be that understanding that guru's wisdom is higher, and that should be honored. Okay? That's the way it is. How can you become more aware of your fears, or is that even necessary to do because they will come up by themselves? If you're more aware of your fears, what's the best way to face them? Really, come on, people. Either you know what a fear is or you don't. It's either there or it's not. Okay? It's not something you need to hunt for. Oh, I need to look and see if there's something I'm afraid of. If you're in fear, you'll know it. It's not something one has to delve to look for. And when it comes up, you see it as an energy. That's it. It's a burst of adrenaline, it's an energy, and it's a mental spin about something. That's all. So you sit with it, and you look at it and see, in this moment, I'm quite fine. And be willing to walk through the door and challenge that fear. That's all. And find out it has no hold on you. If you're never willing to challenge it, you'll never find out. And you'll always remain in the clutches of it. Okay? Is the Guru Gita recommended to read on this path? Is it helpful to increase devotion to Guru? I don't recommend the Guru Gita because, again, it says, oh, if you disrespect any Swami or anything, you're going to be eons of hell realms and all of this other, and I don't want anything that's fear-based. Okay? A lot of paths will stress that you need to read it. I think that was practice in TM. Every day you had to read it, wasn't it, Guru Gita?
No, I never read it, no.
You never read it? It was one of the paths that every day they had to read it. Maybe it wasn't, not TM, it was Siddha Yoga.
Probably, yeah.
Siddha Yoga. Every day they had to read the Guru Gita. And it's very fear-based. Just as many of these things that come from the East, this is why people don't want to speak out against Nityananda, because, oh my God, if you say anything against any guru, you're going to hell. Well, if the guru is not a guru, and they're committing dharmic acts, then you are not getting karma from that. And the gurus will be judged more severely because they're in a position of authority. So what they say is more heavily weighed in karmic retribution at the end of things. Okay? So it's not something to take lightly to be a guru. And these ones that are playing with this and doing all these heinous acts, they will not get out of it. Like I've said a million times, I would not want to be them at their death when they leave the form, because they can bullshit people here. But they can't bullshit that. Once they leave the form, it will be in their face. They will be accountable, and they will be in an absolute hell realm. So that's coming for them. My suggestion is they clean up their act now. Clean up their act now. So no, I don't recommend it. Yes, one should develop devotion towards the guru in a healthy manner by respecting what is being given. Okay? That's all. Your self-inquiry recommendation has what is this I included. It's what is this I, not what is the I. It seems like the most subtle form of this practice is on the feeling level and makes its appearance on its own. Can you comment on this? Well, no, it's not a practice of feeling it. Absolutely not. When have I ever said that?
No, you haven't.
I haven't. No, because it's not.
Uh-huh.
It's to counteract the mental spin. When a mental spin comes up, to what is this arising? What is this I? To what is this arising? It's arising to mind. The I is a conglomeration of thoughts that one strings together to presuppose an I and an identification. So in doing this practice, it's meant to start cutting those knots, to look deeper, not to develop some feeling. I have a feeling about it, you know. Maybe there'll be feelings around it, but that's not the practice, to develop some feeling. The practice is there to get you out of chasing the mental spin, whatever the mental spin is, rather than focusing on the mental spin of the moment. Oh, this is horrible, that's horrible, oh my God, what do I do? To what is this arising? That should be the thought, replacing that. To what is this arising? Okay?
I thank you for that. It brings clarity.
Brings some clarity.
I'll sit with the
Yeah,
instrument.
sit with it.
Because I did miss it.
You did miss it, yeah. Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
I can give satsang and I can say things 100 times and people say, I've got it, I got it, I got it. And when you talk to them, you find out they've got some other spin on it that has nothing to do with what's being said. And what's being said and what's being heard and how they're translating it according to their mental proclivities and things that they're chasing will be many. And that's why it takes getting to know your sadhakas, how they think, how they process. Because invariably it comes up that you have to go, no, that's not what's meant. But I heard you say, no, that's not. That may be what you heard, but what I said is, and what is meant by that is, okay, it's XYZ, not DFZ. Okay, or DFB, or whatever it is you've got going on. So, Namaste was wanting to know if one gets bad karma from killing your feeder animals for feeding your pets. Rats, for example, to feed snakes and lizards. For one, why do you have the snakes and lizards? Unless they are, you know, species that are not native to this, that would be, you know, in jeopardy if you release them, it's better to let them be on their own. Let them find their own food. That's natural. That's nature. Let them be on their own and live their own life. Why are you playing God to them? Okay? Pets like, you know, like we have, like dog and bird, you can't release them. They're not native to this, you know, the bird is not native to this region. Therefore, we have to feed them and take care of them. But if they're birds and things that are native to the region, why in the world to have them caged up? Would you want to be caged up? Wouldn't you want to be free to live your life? Let them take care of their own karmic responsibilities. And how many lives are you going to end for this one? Really? So yeah, it's not something that's, you know, really beneficial to be doing. No. Yes, in some instances, you know, when it's, you've got a hurt animal, or you've got something that's, again, not native, can't be released, and then that's another thing that one has to weigh in the factors. But in this, again, why? So where do thoughts come from? What, if anything, determines the nature of our thoughts? Thoughts again come from the mental spin and the attachments and the rejection of things. That's where they come from. From the wanting to cling to things, to the feeling the pity pardons, all the other stuff one attaches to, wants to cling to, or wants to reject. So one gets in a mental spin. Okay? And that's what determines the nature of your thought. Your fears and all the other drama you've got going on underneath the scenes. Usually when Kundalini starts and you'll get some really irrational thoughts, oh my God, where the heck did that come? I would never do that, but that's the fear. What's coming up is the fear. Oh my God, what if I'm going to be possessed? Or oh my God, what if I'm doing something against God? Or oh my God, what if, all these irrational things come up because these are the fears. So that drives a lot of it. Fear I'll lose my family, or this or that will happen, or this person did this, and then they've got to find a justification, and the mental stuff is going. That's where all this crap comes from. Okay? So if you want to get rid of the mental crap, you got to do the practices. Be in the moment. And quit following and justifying and, trying to cling to this stuff. Because the more you cling to it, or the more you fight against it, the more energy you're feeding it. It's like I tell people when they have a real fearful thing, the thing is not to give it energy. It'll get bored and go away. But I don't care how you want to feed it energy, it only grows. So stop feeding it energy. This is why you have the practices. Put the energy elsewhere. Okay? When the mind merges in the heart, the self is realized. What is meant by mind merging in the heart? Realization. You answered your own question. The answer is in the question. It's realization. They say Brahman, part of Brahman, etc. Everything is located in the heart. That's why the practice is. Like Ramana says, first you go up, and then you got to finally rest in the heart. That's where everything has to come back to. Okay? That's where it begins, that's where it ends. So when the mind is submerged there, it means it's submerged in Brahman. There is no more rising mind. That's the end of it. That's realization. Why does the universe exist? Who gives a rat's ass why it exists? It does. In this moment, it does for you. So what kind of answer is going to make that better for you? Be happy that it exists in this moment. Be happy with where you are. And if you're not happy with where you are, submerge more deeply in the practices. Okay? And then once you get done, you find out all the universe and all the drama surrounding it emerges from the mental stuff. That's all. That's all. But who knows why the universe come into existence? What difference does it make? This is again one of those intellectual curiosity. It has nothing to do with the path, has nothing to do with breaking through to realization. These kind of questions are not beneficial. It's a waste of satsang time to ask idle curiosity questions. At one point in the path, does the ultimate truth of one's nature, I am, non-dual awareness, become clear and is fully assimilated? There's nothing to assimilate. To assimilate something, there has to be duality. There has to be two. I need to assimilate this. You think you're going to get an intellectual understanding about it? That you're going to assimilate? It all deconstructs. There's nothing to assimilate at that point. It just is. And it's the end of the path. I mean, where do you think it comes in the path? That's the end of seeking. When that is entered, it's the end of seeking. Okay? This is not to say that there's still not more to do at that point. You know, you can have an initial falling away, but the mind can reroute. So even at that point, there is still, one needs to be diligent that the mind does not reroute. This is stated, you know, if you'll read, you know, many of the texts like the Ashtavakra, Gita, and the Vedic Chudamani, it'll say you don't water the peepal tree. You know what the peepal tree is? The one where Buddha sat underneath. It's got all the roots that come down and, you know, endless roots that come down from the arms of the tree into the ground. Tons of them, hundreds of them. So once that's done, you cannot go into that idle intellectual curiosity because immediately you've watered that and that tree springs right back up in another root. And you're back into mind again. So, first get there, then we'll talk about it. It'll be self-evident at that point. Once karma becomes that which plays itself, are there still insights that happen on the mundane field and for whose benefit this would be? There's no insights that need to come about karma. Life plays out. That's all. What comes, comes. What doesn't, doesn't. So who needs to sit there and intellectually pull it apart? There's no insight that needs to take place about it. Again, people are in this confusion, a mental spin. The mind dies. There is no mental spin. There's no insight that needs to arise. It's quiet. It's still. That's it. And life plays out. There's no thinking about life, categorizing life. Oh my God, I wonder what happened with this. Oh my God, what about that? What about that? No, there's nothing. It's quiet. When the eyes are looking, there's seeing happening. The ears are hearing. That's it. There's no mental chatter. Insights come with mental chatter. Okay? From here, see duality separation as the doorway through to the non-dual. While no vanishing of doorway bridge has taken place, separation has become clear life. Is this the same as when you speak of Leela? I'm having a hard time understanding what's being asked here. Leela is when everything has deconstructed again, and it's, one can say equally, there is no God or it's all God. And then it's Leela. It's play. When there's no karmic hindrance, when you're not creating new karma, then it's play. When there's no mental spin any longer, and one is out of the suffering, then it's play. If there's still mental drama happening, then one is still in suffering. There's either realization and the play of Leela that just sees the world for what it is. There are trees, there are mountains, there's no other objective, trying to make it into something other. In the beginning of the path, there are trees and mountains. In the middle of the path, they become something other than that. And at the end of the path, there are trees and mountains again. One enjoys it for what it is. And that's the play. Okay? Because there's no longer this pull. There's no longer this push. There's no longer any of that drama. So that's the play of God. Okay? Guru spoke of the journey as an onion that peels layer by layer. Can there be times of peeling in past that are finally seen in the present? One can have insight later. Things can come up where one is privy to some past life happenings or things that have happened in the past of this life, and one sees the correlation in the path and in your spiritual progress. That can happen. Okay? It just happens as a side avenue as one moves forward. Okay? One gets a little bit more wisdom and they see it for what it is. That's all. How the lifetimes of practices have evolved, what was lacking in past that's come into the present, what needed to be fulfilled, what needed to take place. Okay, those things can come up and can be seen. Okay. It's just part of the matter, of course, that takes place. It's not something that one really seeks out. It just comes to the forefront towards the end of the journey. That's all. Where one recognizes left-handed blessings in this life, what they really were, and what was really the benefit of them when one was taking them as suffering. Okay, that's all. What is the power of mantra? Where does it come from, and how is it different than magic? Mantra, it depends on what kind of mantra. They use mantras for magic. They use mantras for dark magic. They use mantras, there are all sorts of mantras. Okay? Mantras are like anything else, they're energy. Pools of energy, types of energy. Okay? Just the spoken words are energy. Mantra is another type of spoken word. It carries more energy. That's all. Okay? So mantras that are given here are used again, depending on the type of mantra, either for expansion or for cutting through. Cutting through the ego drama and the ego spin. Okay. And the mantras, when they're given specifically by a guru, they have to have the guru's intention behind them. This is what empowers them and gives them the strength. So this is why I say, people that come, when you're given a mantra, don't think when you leave, all I have to do is get here, get a hold of this, and I can leave me on my merry way and use it, and it'll work the same. It won't. Because you can cut the connection with Guru, then that which is fueling the mantra, which is aiding to continue to keep it empowered and enlivened, goes. That connection gets cut, the universe is not going to continue to honor it. It's like a spinning wheel. It might work for a short time, but that energy is going to be dissipated. That's the way it is. I don't make the rules. It's the way it is. But yeah, it's the same thing here. You know, why? When Guru says Om or Guru does specific things, there's a transmission. Same thing, if I'm giving you those things, or if you're hearing it, and sometimes even in just general music that's being done, whatever, it'll carry a transmission. Just simply the way it is, because what's being given from here comes from that stillness, and that stillness aids to break through, and it causes changes, and it comes from that balance. So that's it. For those that have not yet tasted quiet mind or oneness, it gets heavy to always be reminded that those states are not it. Is it okay for your sadhakas to think one step at a time in the sense of, okay, we'll reach quiet mind first, then oneness, and if that's possible at all in this lifetime, and then we'll see what takes place. One is tempted to say, I have to test the waters first. Is this a wrong mentality? No, all that's being said is that those are not the final end. They can be really vastly different than the state you're in now. And one wrongly assumes they're at the end of the path. It's such a difference in consciousness from mundane, and people will have a tendency at that point to blow out and think they're done. Oh, but you don't know, this is so vast, this is so, yes, I do know, and that's why I'm telling you. The oneness and the quiet mind, you know, you can have a silence of the mind, which is a bit different than the quiet mind, and some silence does arise much earlier in the path than that absolute quiet. Okay, so there's a difference. So people hear the words one and they think oneness is it. They think they're done. Then comes sometime that spiritual arrogance and they blow out. They're not done. So this is why the cautionary thing is said. It's not said it's terrible to experience oneness. That's not what's being said. It's not saying it's a waste of time to experience it. What's being said, yet again, for clarification, is that it's not the end of the journey. No matter how vast it seems, and all-consuming it seems, that's not the end. Don't cut yourself short. Don't leave at that point and blow out, because it's not the end. There is a much vaster, deeper thing in store than that. Okay? As wonderful as that feels when people become oneness and bliss monkeys, okay? So it's like, everything's great. You know, bliss monkeys just running on it, you know.